but then you would have to override a veto. All the way in the back.
To go back to what to turn our economy around and help small business. I'm an old executive, retired from this time, and the thing that seemed to generate my ability or willingness to spend was a tax credit for purchase of machinery and equipment to modernize my plant to be able to spend that money, that it would come off of quote unquote my taxes, as it were. So what cost me so much, it's a way of stimulating small business to expand without hurting anybody. In other words, the money will go into the economy. And that's what we need. Without jobs, we got nothing. Without being able to modernize some of these. Chicago has gone away from industry big time. You can't afford to stay there or whatever, and you're moving out. We need to add that. And that's a major factor for putting people to work and creating jobs.
Agreed, and there's that piece that's in this tax deal right now. Depending on how it plays out, that's something the Republicans want to address immediately in January. I lost my train of thought. Oh, there was an article this morning about all the money that businesses are sitting on right now. And it's perfectly understandable. Again, the analogy I use is, and it makes so much sense to me, business in this country right now is afraid to walk out the door because they don't know what's out there. How, in God's name, can you hire, can you plan in an environment like that? And it's all the little things you're talking about, but it's also the big things. Don't underestimate Obamacare. It's a big expense right now. The people who wrote the law don't know how much it's going to cost. And by the way, the hundreds and hundreds, I'm going to say it 3 more times, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of regulators right now that are working in brand new rented office space in D.C., drawing up these regulations for the healthcare law, for the financial regulation reform. They're going to dictate some of the costs in these things that the legislators never even attended. So go back. You're a businessman. I'd be sitting on my hands till the cows come home. All the way in the back, sir.
Well, I've got a quick one on that. Why would a company take that $2 trillion that they're sitting on and invest in the demand in this country when there is no demand in this country? Why would they expand their factories? Why would they expand their businesses in this country when the demand is not there?
Well, create the demand. How do you create the demand? Just buy that as an attitude.
Where are you going to buy that?
Where are you going to buy it? You're going to buy it
From
no,
China.
No. Everyone wants to go back to China, back to Korea, back to Japan, or whatever it is.
I think to your point, they got to go hand in hand. The American business and the American consumer need to begin to poke their heads out the doors and windows at about the same time. And we talk so much about how business in this country right now is overtaxed, overregulated, and scared to death about what their future burden's going to be. I don't know how you feel. I think the American consumer feels the same way.
Just a follow-up. You mentioned it on the insurance industry and across state lines. What about busting out some of these too big to fail companies, imposing the antitrust laws into it, so that the insurance companies as well as the banks don't get too big to fail?
Let me go back to my Reagan axiom. There should be no too big to fail. Let's go over here for a little bit. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the importance.
Hey, before you ask that question, This is Parker, who was probably my oldest volunteer this last campaign. He was told to wear his Sunday best. Pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good. By the way,
You had mentioned the importance of special interest, and obviously that's because of the resources required for a campaign. Can you please explain to me how we can get rid of this absurdity of needing tens of millions of dollars to become a United States Senator?
Okay.
What will you do to make sure that this nonsense stops?
you may hate my answer, but I'm going to say it. And this is coming from a guy who was outspent 5-1. Here goes. There's nothing wrong with money in politics. Let me say it again. There's nothing wrong with money in politics. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. And then come back at me.
Okay, I will.
Here's my problem. The problem is, it's a pain in the butt to raise money, and our laws make it a lot more difficult. Take a guy like me, Joe Walsh. We all know by now I'm not a wealthy guy. I have to spend, so I have no money to put into the campaign. So, by the way, we tend to get wealthy people running for office. Why? Because there are no restrictions on what a billionaire can put into his own campaign. But a little old guy like me, I got to go out and get on the phone 10 hours a day and ask people for money because I can't raise more than $2,400 per individual. So because there's that limit on, and by the way, that helps incumbents, I have to spend a lot of time doing it. So my solution is simple.
Term limits.
Well, that's part of my
Yeah, I
solution.
agree with that.
But when it comes to money, my solution is I don't think there should be any limits. But I think there should be instant disclosure. So if, for instance, let's take Dorian. Let's say Dorian's a millionaire, and Dorian wants to give me $100,000 because she believes in me, and she wants me to be her congressman. She writes me a check for $100,000. Boy, that would be nice. You know what? Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but everybody in this room should have the ability instantly to see that Dorian wrote me a check for $100,000. And if anybody in this room has a problem with that, Lord, you don't vote for Joe Walsh. As long as it's instantly transparent. I don't think you can ever keep money out of politics, and if you cut it off somewhere, it's just going to go grow over there. But follow up.
Do you think, and I agree with your premise, but do you think that's an efficient use of resources?
If Dorian could write me a $100,000 check in an afternoon, then I'm spending the rest of that afternoon doing what I should be doing. The problem is, every day I have to find 100 Dorians. We've just made it real difficult to raise because we think we got this notion money is bad. Money's not bad. We too often elect Republicans and Democrats who are influenced by money.
That's right.
We elect imperfect human beings, and it's in kind of a screwy system, and they tend to get impacted by the system. You know what?
That's an understatement, sir.
True. Absolutely. So, but if you play this out, if there's instant sunshine on everything, and you see that this big gun group is giving me millions of dollars to help me get reelected, and I'm spending all my time pushing gun rights all over the place, well, then eventually that's going to hurt me. And it should.
So the fact that we know that, and I'll throw this out not to pick on them, that public service employees unions, if we know that they're giving millions of dollars to get their bosses reelected, that's okay with you?
You know what?
I'll leave it at that, okay?
I'm quite smart guy. I'll stay with it. It bugs the heck out of me. But you know what my answer then is? Yeah, because I don't believe in their mission. I don't believe in what they're doing. But then it's up to all of us, if that bothers enough of us, to get off our rears and vote for the other guy.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Governor Pat Quinn won this election, and the public sector unions in Illinois were very open about what they were doing. It's up to us to pay attention. I don't know how else you legislate it. All the way in the back.
Congressman Walsh, boy, does that sound great. At home, and explain something that confuses the heck out of me, but is really important. I've lived in this district for 40 years. Redistricting. How do we have a district that stretches from Lake County, almost paralleling on the south to Kane County? It is the most gerrymandered district, and redistricting is killing us. Because some people say that we could possibly lose this district and become part of another district, which you will not have a chance of winning in the future, and it may not be that far off. Because Chicago people are coming out here, they're bringing their politics with them, and that scares me. Living out here for 40 years, I've seen this.
Redistrict.